All right, so today, as you know, we are focusing on applying gratitude to your Agile team. And so why did we choose gratitude? Well, across many countries, many places, uh, coming up is a time that people like to express gratitude to their families, to their friends, coworkers, and so forth. So we thought it would be timely to have a conversation around applying gratitude to your Agile teams. So today we have a really great host of panelists with us today. We have Justin Tattle, Missy Yosemite, Mariano Olivetti, and myself, Quincy Jordan. So we will be your panelists for today, and we're very much appreciative of you attending today's session. So just a little bit about AgileThought. We always like to make sure that we include this part. So we are spread across 6 countries, founded in 2000, somewhere in the neighborhood of 3,000 consultants. So we are primarily across the Americas, as you can see. And we always look forward to bringing Agile thinking to our clients. So we focus primarily in 3 areas: innovate, where we have strategic consulting; build for our digital delivery; and then run for our digital operations. So again, thank you for taking out time. There are many things that you could have been doing at this time, and you chose to spend it with us, and we very much appreciate that. All right, so for today's event, this is how we anticipate the conversation flowing. So we're going to talk about what is gratitude, and then why gratitude. Why is gratitude even important for Agile teams? And then ways to show gratitude to your teams, and then specific thankfulness techniques. So this session is being recorded. And if you remain on the call, you are showing that you are complicit with the recording being done, and your participation in that as well. So based on psychology today, there are some specific things that they have identified that are attributed to showing gratitude and the things that it does. So gratitude opens doors to healthier relationships, as we can all identify with, especially with Agile teams. We tend to focus in heavier on the human side of things with Agile teams versus, say, waterfall teams. It also improves physical health as well as psychological health. And it enhances empathy and reduces aggression. So, we all want the best for each other, I'm sure, within your teams, but there are times where things may get a bit tight and testy, and people may kind of snap a little bit towards each other. So gratitude actually helps to reduce that significantly. It improves self-esteem and also mental strength or fortitude. So we have an exercise that we're going to do really quickly. So I'm going to hand it off to Justin, and he's going to carry us through that.
Thank you, Quincy. Thank you for that great introduction. And I hope to get a meaningful conversation going here. So with that in mind, our first activity today is going to be getting you guys on the call a little bit engaged using a tool called Mentimeter. So let me get to the next slide. So if you're able to, either if you've got a mobile device right next to you, you can point that camera to the QR code to participate. And the question is, what is gratitude? One word answer, and we'll take a moment to review the answers that you guys are contributing. So either use your mobile device or menti.com and use the code 30257362. So let's take a moment to do so. All right, so words that are coming up: thankfulness, thankful, appreciation, humility. Nice. Let's carry on. So why gratitude? So in a Scrum team setting is where we were coming from here. Taking moments to celebrate your team, right? So the worst is letting those moments go when an opportunity comes around where you should celebrate an achievement from your team, right? I've seen or been on teams where those opportunities come and go and no one recognizes the moment, and it just creates this aspect that, you know, appreciation starts to dwindle and it impacts the culture of the team, right? It's important to celebrate moments and wins that come through. Recognizing commitment. The teams, usually team members, remain committed to the work, right? One of the aspects of going through a sprint planning event is to go through and recognize what the members are going to be committing to completing in a specific time box. And as the time box comes to a close, if we don't take the time to recognize that, right? So during a sprint planning or sprint retrospective event, a practice that comes around is you know, showing each other appreciation, right? Recognizing kudos and things of that sort. So recognize what the team has achieved, and even if it means, even if the sprint was not successful, for example, right? Still recognize a team's path towards what they strive to be the goal. It encourages how we show up, encourages how each team member comes into work every day, right? Their enthusiasm towards the team, what they would, you know, what their the aspect of how they're contributing to the team, and, you know, making work fun, right? So thankfulness, all of that leads up into that kind of environment. And I'd like to open up the floor to our other panelists here, based on some of our conversations. Anything else you guys want to contribute here?
Hey, Justin, thank you. I was just trying to get unmuted. Sorry about that. It took me a minute. I think that you were spot on with, you know, celebrating your team in every opportunity that you have is key to boost the morale. It has always worked wonders, but obviously not faking it, but just showing true gratitude in terms of like show up on a daily with that mentality of, hey, I'm thankful that I have the opportunity to work with you. And, you know, the morale of the team will increasingly go up and people will participate more, they will get more engaged, and the results are usually exponential as time goes by. So I appreciate you bringing that up over there.
I definitely support what you shared, Justin. Gratitude actually helps us, right, on the Agile teams to live into our Scrum values, right? It's part of the respect that we show into one another, right? When I appreciate or I'm grateful for the value that you represent, the value that you bring on the team, more than likely I would respect you. I'll show it in how, in the work, in my partnership with you, in how I collaborate with you. So having the gratitude mindset on the Scrum team really does help, you know, in how we celebrate, why we celebrate, right? And also the quality of work that we produce, because then we translate that mindset to what we're providing to our customers, because you cannot separate the doers of the work from the work, right? And from the folks that they're providing the work to. So.
Thank you, Missy. Yes, all great points. Now, we did want to have this, you know, conversation open on the floor as well. So if they're, based on everything that we've said, any other thoughts that you'd like to contribute, feel free to unmute and contribute to the conversation.
I couldn't tell if Nicole had her hand up or if she was just clapping. I saw a glimpse.
I was clapping. I just really agree with what you guys are saying. I'm a product owner for a web Scrum team, and I really see, you know, the encouragement from my team when I am thankful for what they've done, whether we're failing or in certain ways, we're never really failing. You know, everyone is trying their best, always on my team, and they need to feel that. And I feel when they do, the work really carries over and to the customer, like you guys said, as well. If I'm thankful, then they're thankful and they're passionate about their work and we all respect each other. It makes a huge difference.
Yes, great point.
Thanks,
Thank you, Nicole.
I was just going to share really quickly one of the other things with regards to gratitude, and just kind of tagging on to what Nicole was saying, that feeling, you know, it's actually a chemical reaction in the body. It's the dopamines, you know, kicking in and doing what they do. And it's so interesting how even when a person isn't feeling the best, and to some degree, even if they don't even think it's important, but when you start expressing that gratitude, it's like those chemicals just start kicking in and they start taking over, and it's like they go from being kind of upset to a little bit of a smile to, okay, you got me. I appreciate it. Thank you for telling me. Thank you. You know, it just starts kind of going in that direction. And it's a very powerful thing.
Yes.
And I think, you know, when we were having conversation some time ago, someone, I think Justin probably did call out that gratitude it's an enabler for trust. And that resonated with me. That really, when you feel appreciated or someone maintains a stance of gratitude towards you, the energy is positive, that you won't be able to put up any walls, right? And it kind of propels that foundational work for trust.
Great points. Thank you, Missy. So trust, and we were also discussing around, you know, some of these Scrum values, right? So out of the 5 Scrum values, one of them is courage. Thankfulness or gratitude, how does that, you know, foster courage on a team, right? Recognizing moments, you know, especially when leaders, product owners, business stakeholders, recognize moments to especially be grateful around ideas or solutions that problems that emerge from the team members themselves, right? How often does that contribute to, you know, that recognition contributing to others visualizing that and seeing, hey, I can actually contribute and solve problems, as opposed to listening to leaders and doing the work type thing, right? So it fosters courage, brings on creativity, and ownership we touched on earlier. Ownership of the solution, or ownership over the software, whatever that the team is making, right? They own it, it's their baby, they'll do their best, and it drives quality in the overall development, right? It drives quality over the solution. They brings on empathy towards what they're building, empathy towards the end user, and all of that, all fostered from just the culture within the organization, within the team members themselves, the leadership within the team, showing gratitude, right? So together, in the words team, together we achieve more, right? And it's part of a team. So bringing on that togetherness aspect. Any thoughts around that? Courage, ownership, additional thoughts? Carry on. Next, so it makes team members know that they are valued, right? So touching and thankful and being thankful of their contribution leads to self-recognition, right? Recognizing folks and that they are part of a team, that their contributions matter, and that they're not just there to do work, you know. And true gratitudes, no platitudes, but it's got to be genuine. And again, it's building blocks for trust as you go through these kind of activities. So don't just recognize someone for what they accomplished, and actually express gratitude for all the work that they've put into it, right? So there's a progression. It takes time for all the accomplishments to come through, right? So don't recognize the progression as well as important. And I like this graphic that I was able to find here. It's unrealistic to expect extraordinary efforts and performance without creating an environment where people feel extraordinarily valued. Right? Quote from Doug Conant. I thought it was pretty powerful. So think about the environment that you're creating. Yeah, does that foster folks that can lead to what everybody strives to have as far as the effort and performance, extraordinary effort and performance. All right. Any other thoughts there?
Yeah, I feel like genuineness is a really important piece of this. That resonates with me a lot. I feel like people sense when it's not genuine, and if there's something other than a genuine position or spirit of gratefulness about what you're doing there, I think that gets sensed and picked up on pretty quickly. So to me, that's just a really important component of all of this, is for the gratitude itself to be genuine and to come from that place of authenticity.
Yes.
Adam, I completely agree with you. And your comment ties up to what Missy was talking about before about building trust. If it is not genuine, you provoke exactly the opposite. And once you have an environment where you have lack of trust, you're back to square one. So 100% of what you're saying, I agree. If you don't do it from the journey, if it doesn't come from the heart, just don't do it and wait till the right moment where you really mean it.
All right. So with that, it gets us to our next session of our conversation, and that's ways to show gratitude to your team. And I'll hand that off to Mariano.
And thank you, Justin. So now what we want to do is have a little bit of understanding on how to execute this, right? Like, and just minimal ways that we can present to you. But first of all, I would like to know, and I think that we would all like to know, what are the ways that you currently are using to show gratitude to your team? Like, what are you currently doing, whether it's with your team or your work environment or in general? What are things that you're doing? I'll just give it 1 minute. If you guys want to do both ways, you can type it in the chat so we can talk about it. Or if you want to go and unmute yourself, just go ahead and do it. Kudo boards, yes, kudos. Thank you, Missy. Missy saying kudos in the chat, just in case you guys haven't seen it. What else? Kudos during retrospectives, yes. Thank them in front of others, public recognition, good. Celebrate the wins, I type slower, and no problem, Claire. Sounds good, I'm a slow typer, that's what I said. Hey, if you want to go ahead and get on just on the microphone, that's fine as well. Providing public acknowledgement, yes. A thank you, gracias, obrigado channel in Microsoft Teams. That is a great idea. Thank you, Dan. I use Kudo boards to recognize birthdays and work anniversaries. There's a lot. Offsite retros to thank by food and drinks. Jamie, I love that idea. Sign me up. Yeah, those are great ideas. Actually, they're actually phenomenal. Justin, if you want to go to the next slide, we can talk a little bit about what are the ways that we thought about showing gratitude and in terms of what are the motivators, right? We can have a big conversation about this, and we're gonna keep it kind of small with these 4 points at this point in time. So skill matters, and what we're trying to say with that is that it's not the same if you actually have a situation in which, granted, most of the people will say that they would rather have a pat in the back, a real thank you that comes from the heart instead of a $5 gift card to Starbucks, right? Instead of a monetary offer. However, if the thank you turns into a bonus at the end of the year that equals $10,000, the pat in the back and the thank you and the handshake is phenomenal, but I would love the $10,000. And that is not because I'm greedy. It's just it enables me to do a whole bunch of other stuff. So scale really does matters, right? I mean, not that a $5 gift card is not going to be well perceived, but it depends on what you're trying to do. You might want to just, take the approach of probably a good handshake, a meaningful, heartfelt, thank you for doing X, Y, and Z, instead of just buying a gift card that could be a little bit perceived as cold-blooded in some cases. The value of mental health, right? So at times it's, these are ways that people actually don't think about it, but at times seeing somebody thank you, somebody that has been, let's put it in context with any kind of team, not just an Agile team, but somebody that has been working, overtime, just trying to get something done and trying to go above and beyond. And at times they just need a little bit of time off. And it would be okay just to say, hey, you know what, you made your way through it. Go ahead and take next Monday off. We're good. You brought us into the timeline that we were expecting or whatnot. And just recognize that at times that is as valuable or even more, honestly, than just providing a gift card of sorts. So just understanding that kind of conversation is super valuable, and at times mental health is perceived as a second notion. But yeah, so, and then fulfilling purpose, right? So let's say that if what really fills me up, what really makes me happy is doing something that I have not been able to do, but in a way that, and again, let's say that a dream that I had or a passion that I have is do pottery, right? But I've been so busy, I haven't had a chance to do that. And a cool way just to tell me, hey, thank you very much for helping me out today with this presentation could be, a pottery gift card for something that I can go do here, a pottery class or a wine and pottery of sorts, something like that. So it's more about finding out what is truly meaningful to the other person that you're just trying to say thank you, and trying to help them out achieve those things that at times we ourselves put in the back burner, right? So if I need to do that for myself, I would probably just procrastinate and never do it. But, Justin, out of his kindness, is just going to go ahead and send me that gift card that we're talking about. And I don't like pottery. It's okay, Justin. And then last but not least, in this motivator, that is something that we probably need to acknowledge, is buying some stuff or stuff that you have been thinking about. And when we were putting together this presentation, I was just talking to the team and I'm like, hey, a classic case that I had is a long time ago, I wanted to go on a trip vacation and I ended up winning that trip vacation. And I've been thinking about taking that vacation to Cancun, actually. And I was lucky enough to have options to either do one thing or do the other. So it was, again, it goes back to trying to find out what is really meaningful to the other person on the receiving end, whether it's, again, a peace of mind, just, getting some time off, a Monday or a Friday, just to spend time with, downtime with the family or even by themselves, trying to fulfill a purpose or just doing something for them that they on their own, they've been procrastinating because, they've been putting work forward. So those are just some examples, right? I mean, there's definitely other motivators, but we thought that just bringing these to life would be encouraging and just a little bit of food for thought that goes beyond the thank you or the gift card, typical gift card, or the kudo board that we talk about already. You want to go to the next one, Justin? So in terms of recognition, it's super important just to do it. And somebody mentioned this in the comments before in the chat, to do it both publicly and privately, because it's two very different settings. So if you always do it one way or not the other, it might be a little bit counterproductive. If you do it publicly all the time, but there's not like a one-on-one, hey, really thank you, and I mean from the heart, it takes away that intimacy of the conversation. But if you only do it in a private setting, that might be taken from a point of view of like, I never get recognized publicly with the rest of the team. And it might just not get through the right way, or the way that you want to get that gratitude pushed through in a way that you mean it. Then obviously we want to recognize behaviors that are encouraged, right? So we want to make sure that when we are, saying thank you to somebody, or just being grateful for something that had taken place, that we are reinforcing all the good behaviors, because the rest of the team will pick up on that, or the rest of the organization will pick up on that. So it's a good reinforcer for all the behaviors that we want to instill within the organization. And then this last one is very close to me: how to position your gratitude even when failure is present. So for me particularly, and I've been through this a couple of times, who has not ever missed a sprint goal, for example, or who has not ever missed a milestone in a prior life or anything like that? So for me particularly, it has been incredibly important just to be thankful for the effort that it was done by the team, even if they have failed, because that doesn't mean that failure is a total failure. It's not that the sprint went away. It's just that for some reason, something didn't go as planned. And I'm always thankful for that, and the lessons learned that comes with it. So the way that I position that with the teams are, hey, we have accomplished this much, we have learned all this much, and we just need to be thankful for that, because there's always an opportunity to do it better next go around. So I don't know if any of the other panelists or any of the other invitees here have anything that you guys want to share around these terms of how to show, or ways to show gratitude to your teams. I'll open it up to you guys.
I definitely agree with you. I think gratitude is even more critical when things don't go as they planned, because we're already feeling down as a team, especially in an agile environment. That at that point, it's so important to motivate the team to be better, to do better, and validate their work, because you know what they can do. So gratitude in that time, in the time when it's not so good, resonates with the team more than when things are great. So I definitely agree with you there.
Yeah, thank you, Missy. It's very easy to hop on board, on the bandwagon when everything is going well. It is just difficult to stay with the team and just again show that you're grateful for the advancements that we could do. And again, the behavior is team-like, right? Thank you, Missy. I totally agree with you. And it generates that trust and that cohesiveness and that camaraderie that we want to see in every team, whether it's an agile team or not. But yet again, I mean, in agile teams, this is very prevalent, where we behave as a unit all together. Any other comments?
Yeah, Mariano.
Go ahead, Adam.
Go ahead. Okay, I'll go. As a leader, to have the presence of mind to offer the gratitude during trying times, or as you said, when failure is present, would be a great leadership quality. And I think it would really promote a sense of loyalty and allegiance among the team, to feel a leader pulling them together when things are at their toughest. And then when things calm down and they're back to normal and things are good again, that team is going to feel much closer and a greater sense of loyalty to that leader, knowing that when times are tough, they're unifying them.
Yeah, another set of words I wanted to share that as we were putting this content together, that ran across, team, company core value being teamwork over ego, and how that's, contributed to the teamwork aspect within their organization. That, hey, failure or successes may damage or promote ego, right? But if it's brought back to, it took a team to achieve, whatever success it is, right? That it brings it back to the team orientation as opposed to individual egos.
Totally
so that's
agree.
pretty powerful, yeah.
Cool. Any other thoughts? Anybody else that wants to add to the conversation? Cool. If that is it, I mean, Justin, you can go ahead and move on to the next slide. And Missy, the floor is yours.
All right. So here we're going to be talking about thankfulness techniques. And I just want to throw a question out there, and please feel free to respond in the chat. What thankfulness technique has resonated with you the most? Was it that free coffee at the beginning of your workday? Was it taking a half day during the holidays? What technique used by your organization or even in your personal life or on your individual teams resonates with you the most? I love that.
Yeah, I think it's acknowledgement, just the simple acknowledgement.
It's the acknowledgement, the heartfelt recognition of my work, affirmation. So before techniques are implemented, it is so important that organizations understand how, or teams understand how their teammates want to be recognized or be thanked. And to do that, on the team, we have to provide many opportunities for gratitude. It could be via, especially in our time, in our days now, where a lot of us are remote and we can't gather together, opportunities to virtually be thankful, whether it's with applause, high fives, e-cards, or publicly on a board. I've been in an organization that had a gratitude project, and they had a wall within the organization where you could put someone's name and thank them for something extraordinary, or even the slightest thing that they've done to make a difference in your work or on your team, right? Some organizations or some teams create a website, and they will utilize that website just to say thanks and to appreciate everyone on their team. Scrum Masters love to use Scrum ceremonies, right? Whether during your events, as part of your daily Scrum, identifying and thanking the team, or doing retro, incorporating the gratitude mindset within your retro board so that the team holistically could appreciate one another. There are many, many ways where we can show gratitude, but the first step is to provide those opportunities. Justin, if you want to go to the next slide. We have to be intentional with gratitude. And the first step to being intentional with gratitude is setting aside time to be grateful and to appreciate the talent on our team and the talent that we work with and we work for. We have to embed gratitude in all our events. I just give an example of how Scrum Masters like to use each of their ceremonies, whether it's sprint review, when you have all of your stakeholders on there and you want to appreciate the team for the outstanding performance within that sprint and achieving the sprint goal, or going above and beyond to meet a critical milestone, or doing planning, right? When the team shows up and are able to reshape the original intent for that sprint to something that is actually achievable and something more valuable. There are many ways we can ensure that proactively every day we are setting time for the team to reflect and to appreciate one another. I think Scrum does that very well, even with the pillars of Scrum, training us to using all of the events to be transparent, to inspect and adapt. Part of adapting or inspecting is recognizing effort, recognizing time, and recognizing ways that the team have had to pivot. we have to allocate time. So part of embedding gratitude in our events, one of the times that I've really gotten the best feedback of showing gratitude is doing a PI planning I had like 2 years ago. And the team decided to print out all of the recognitions that they'd had in the course of the PI. And during the next PI planning, it was rolled through on the deck. So you could see who was recognized at some point, what they were recognized for, right? Who gave recognition and how well the team appreciated the value that they bring. It made a lot of difference to that team and the morale, particularly of the development team across the art, because now it wasn't just siloed to their team, it was across their art, and everybody got to see and appreciate each other. It's important to embed this value, this mindset in the culture of the team. I have seen teams incorporate this as part of their agreement, how we want to work together, because we know when we appreciate each other, we will respect each other. We will work well. We'll find ways to mitigate conflict and to ensure that we're consistently progressive. It's more important that while some people by nature love and flourish with the grateful mindset, some don't, some shy away from public displays of gratitude and are very quiet. It's also important to recognize those individuals in ways that they appreciate and ways that they can still feel valued and feel appreciated. So recognize people who recognize others the most. Recognize those silent partners that don't say much and don't really publicize what they do, but go way above to make sure that everyone else feels valued. A trophy for the day, but not heroism award. Nobody, we are all superheroes. We still want to promote healthy habits. We still want to promote shared values. We still want to promote shared mindset, and making sure that as we are thankful, we are holistically thankful, and that we're not siloing our thanks to certain individuals, but we're collectively ensuring that everyone feels valued. I'm opening this up if anyone has any contributions. What resonates with you when you're thinking of thankfulness techniques?
As you were sharing, Missy, it just kind of reminded me, or it brought to my remembrance a situation where gratitude made such a big difference for this team, but it wasn't a thank you, we appreciate you type of communication. It was part of the team was in a significant different time zone. They were on the other side of the world. And contractually, they were the ones to be inconvenienced, essentially. Contractually, they were the ones who had to stay up late, and so forth. And the team and I were talking, and I just kind of put it out there, how do you think it would impact the other part of the team that they always have to stay up late? They're always, at the time that's very inconvenient. But what type of impact do you think that would have, for them? And they thought about it and they said, I don't know, they probably would really appreciate that. So they, kind of ran with that. And I think it was maybe like once or twice a sprint, they worked off of the other part of the team's time zone in terms of like when they met, and so forth. And the rest of the team appreciated that so much, just so much. They were like, oh man, I can put my child to bed, or, I can do some things that I couldn't do, even if it's only, once every sprint or twice every sprint or something like that. But it really helped the team to gel even more, even though they're never, they're never been co-located, so to speak, and so forth. But it just made a very big difference, for them.
What you just said, I think it was the beginning of COVID. One of the organizations that I was in didn't take it for granted that people had to pivot. And what they did was to appreciate or to show gratitude to how people were able to really adjust. They opened up a portal within the organization to all of the employees, regardless of contractually how you are within the company, to basically whatever your needs are for your work from home, because we all had to become remote overnight, right? Whether you needed an ergo chair, you needed bigger screens, you had the opportunity to identify that need that you wanted, that you had, and they fulfilled it. And it made a huge difference on the teams within the organization. It was fantastic. Anyone else want to share any other examples of?
I think I just want to share that a lot of these are free to no cost, or free to very low cost. A trophy of the day that passes around, a virtual trophy. I think a lot of times organizations get hung up on how do we incent a particular behavior. We need to bonus people for this. That's a bunch of garbage, right? Just pay a decent salary, recognize people for doing awesome stuff, and move on. Like, keep being thankful.
I think
this
is Paula. I think we could do a really good job welcoming people back where offices are reopening. What I'm seeing are a lot of skeletons, flyers and such from early 2020. So I think we could do a really good job being cognizant that when you appear back to your office, recognize that we're all back, we're all together, and try to reduce the skeletons that might be out there.
One of the things I wanted to touch on, and I know we touched on as panelists when we were talking through the heroism reward. So everything that we've talked to up through now has been all the good things gratitude brings on, right? But what are some ways that y'all have seen where the intent of gratitude was there, but it was actually done wrongly? It brought the wrong outcome to an organization, right? So I've been in an organization myself that had this intent, but what the heroism was the essentially what was being recognized, right? So just curious if there are things that we can learn from, right? From the learning aspect, what are some of the wrong ways to reward or to show gratitude that folks have seen in their engagements in the past?
I think any of the things that tend to create behaviors of unhealthy competition, which team is the best, which developer is the best, those types of things where it doesn't, the person isn't focused as much on how well the team is doing, and they're focusing on the individual in an unhealthy way. I think focusing on the individual is fine, but it is one of those things that sometimes if not done correctly, it can cause, some undesired behaviors.
Yeah, also to expand on that a little more, if your recognition of a person kind of reinforces a hero behavior, that could be a specific example of an unhealthy way to recognize an individual.
This is Paula. I think also when you're expressing gratitude, it's very important that it be sincere, but also not have a condescending aspect to it. Like, wow, that surprised me, or something to that nature. You have to be very careful.
Actually, Paula, now that you say that too, that kind of reminds me, it's also important to keep in mind the sensitivity of an individual's information. Like, you may want to show gratitude that, hey, this person, they had a lot going on personally, and they really still pulled through for the team, and they did this and they did that. But at the same time, you're also now putting out there that, they had some personal things going on, and they may not want that out there. So it's important to, if you're going to do that and that information is there, to have that one-on-one first, to make sure that your intent to show gratitude doesn't turn into a backhanded, compliment. I would be really curious to hear what folks who are not in the United States, maybe in other parts of the world, have to say. I know, things sometimes are different. In general, we're human, so we have same basic behaviors, but how we may show gratitude, what might make more sense in one scenario versus another, may be different. If there's anyone, I would just be curious to hear.
Quincy, I can open up that by saying I left my home country more than 20 years ago, right? So a lot of, you can take this with a full kilogram of salt. But, back in the day when I left my home country, it was, your job was your job. Just do it, right? It was a very Nike approach, just do it. And it was very seldom that you get a thank you unless you went above, beyond, and super beyond. And the thank you was more like, hey, thank you, well done, keep it up, which is fine, but it was never heartfelt. And then granted, there's different layers, right? There's it's a whole bunch of layers of culture. You have the country culture, then you have the company culture, then you have your own upbringing, right? But in general, in some cultures, it's understood that you got to put your 125% effort, because there's a line at the door waiting to get in. So it's interesting that you brought that up. I appreciate you bringing that different perspective of it, of what we know here mostly in the US.
Yeah. Mariano, I 100% agree with you. I'm African by descent, and I grew up in Africa. And it's very, gratitude is almost transactional. In Africa, it's kind of like an expectation, but also with the mindset that you have to earn it. So that's the one thing. There's the basic tribal mindset of how gratitude should be provided, or how it should be incentivized. So
yeah, it's not uncommon to hear at times, you should be thankful that you have a job.
Exactly.
It's not uncommon. So they flip it to you, just to be very clear. So instead of saying thank you for a job well done, they're like, you should be thankful for being here.
So it's the reverse.
Well, one other thing that I wanted to bring up too, so when we were preparing for this, and there was a point where we were working through the slides. I was editing the slides as people were expressing different viewpoints, and Mariano said, hey, Quincy, I just want to tell you, I just really appreciate that, like, you'll jump in, you'll take notes. He was like, I've never seen you ask anyone else to take notes. You just jump in and do it, although I have asked other people to take notes. but, you know, and what was interesting, I immediately, just a knee-jerk reaction, deflected the gratitude that he gave me. And I just immediately said, well, no one's ever accused me of being willing to take notes or, you know, taking good notes before. And, you know, we kind of talked about that, and we talked about how you also have to accept gratitude. You have to accept the appreciation as well. And that, you know, just made an impression, you know, on me, that, you know, in that instance, as we were talking about gratitude, I just immediately deflected and didn't accept the gratitude that Mariana was showing me, you know, at that time. And, you know, and maybe, you know, for me, maybe it's partly a cultural thing, you know, to a degree. But I do think within the Agile community, because we are so human focused more than waterfall environments, that it's actually something that we somewhat have to maybe watch out for more, that we don't deflect gratitude that people are showing us and so forth, and that we do, you know, accept what's being offered to us.
Quincy, I think that's really impactful. I mean, that's pretty profound, actually, because a lot of people they sort of don't even realize they're doing that. And especially, I'd say high performers or really, really ambitious folks, or even a completely different profile type, really humble people will try to deflect it, but it's mentally healthy to accept the gratitude and to just say you're welcome.
Yeah, I had to apologize. It's like, man, I apologize. I shouldn't have done that.
To piggyback on what you're saying, Adam, and you, Quincy, that you brought that up, is people that actually have these servant leadership mindset were usually wired to serve without expecting to be thanked for. So yeah, I think that it has to do, at least in my part, it has to do with that, because I would have done the exact same thing that you did when you said it. And immediately I'm like, I always, every time that I get thanked for anything, I go like, don't worry, it's nothing, it's the team, talk to the team. And it resonated with me when you said that. I didn't say anything at the moment, but it resonated with me. And I'm like, I am very guilty of doing the exact same thing that you did. But I think it has to do, there's many layers again to peel on that end. But in my particular case, I know my worth, but I'm a little bit humble, but it has to do with one mindset of, I'm here to serve you. You don't have to thank me. That's just the way that works for me.
It's interesting that it can unintentionally take away the person's that positive impact they were trying to make.
Yeah.
100%.
Well, I know we're right up against the time. We should move forward in the slides at this point. So our next virtual event won't be until January. We've not settled the date yet. We won't do one in December. We'll take December off. But please look out for the emails and reminders and so forth. Obviously, if you're here, you're on the email list and you will be reminded and sent any notifications of upcoming events. But we very much appreciate you taking out time today to join us and to listen in, to join in. We're very appreciative of that. You can always access any of our past, including this one after today, any of our past events at our website at AgileThought.com. You go under, I think it's either events or online webinars, something like that, but you can find them there. Or you can just go to the website that we have up here. All right, go to the next slide. And so for any of the hosts today, if you would like to connect with any of us on LinkedIn, You can use your phone similar to what we did earlier for the misdemeanor. And if you go into LinkedIn, you can hold your phone up to the screen and you can directly connect with, send a request to connect with any of us. We're all happy to connect with you. So just an easy way to do it. Sometimes folks, want to reach out and they don't really recall how. So this is a way to do it. So again, we at AgileThought really appreciate you joining us today, and we look forward to seeing you again.